I just got close to the camera and realized, I mean, you've obviously noticed my hair is pink and peach and purple. It's kind of a lot of colors. I am not decided if I am calling this a COVID mistake or not yet. And I don't need to know what you think of it. Oh gosh. Hey friends, welcome to the Suburban Stitcher podcast. It's been a month or so, I think, since I have taped an episode, at least a month, maybe more. I feel like it was around May 15th and it's June 18th. Welcome to this show, this episode. I hope that wherever you are, that you are safe and healthy and finding peace and joy in any place that it can be found these days. Because it's really hard sometimes to gear up and tape when your heart hurts. And but now is the time, right? If anyone has ever wondered where Diane Brown, Suburban Stitcher, because there is no other person that is Suburban Stitcher, it's just me. There's no employees, there's no team other than my husband, right? Because we are, everything we do is both of us. But if you've ever wondered, if you couldn't tell where I stand, it is very simple. Black Lives Matter. Period. I have, as we all have been, reading and seeing so much pain and so much hurt in the Black community. And it gives me a lot of pain to see. So for 3 weeks this is the first week that does not technically have a donation of sorts from the shop, but 20% of the sales from the last 3 weeks of shop sales have gone to various organizations, Southern Poverty Law Center, NAACP Houston. I did 2 weeks Southern Poverty Law Center, which actually does not even serve Texas, but what work they do resonated with me, with providing legal aid to Black people, people of color, anyone who finds themselves unable to afford that for themselves. And so that resonated with me. And then the NAACP Houston, as it was a much more local focused organization that, again, I wanted to support. So if you buy Suburban Stitcher yarn, know that that is where we stand and that is what we believe in. That's a royal we, mostly. That's where I stand and it's what I believe in. So I thank you for everyone who was able to purchase and support me while we helped give money to organizations that are helping the people that need it. And there will be more things coming up. So stay tuned. I am so happy to be sitting with you today. It's been too long. These feel like my little journals, my diary of sorts, right? But I really have missed talking with you. I just have missed it. For a quick, I know that I don't normally do this much talking right at the front, but I have a lot of things on my heart. We have welcomed my sister and her 3 children. They are spending a good portion of the summer here in Texas, and we have just had the best time visiting with them, playing with the kids. Have been all playing slip and slide outside, and it's just been so much fun. We do not get to see them near enough because they live across the country, and so it has been such a treat, such a joy to spend lots and lots of time with them this summer's already so far, and then more time to come. We celebrated one of her kiddos' birthdays, my nephew. We celebrated Josh, my husband's 40th birthday last week. We will celebrate Father's Day this weekend. So it's just, life has been full of things to be excited about, even while we're simultaneously internally focused, right? So that's really good. It has been good to have both things to think about and look at for me. So I have managed to do a little bit of knitting. It has not, for a normal 4 to 5 week period of time away from taping, it is not my normal quantity of knitting. And that's okay. I'm not even going to show you everything that I have stitched on or knit on. I say stitched. I knit because I didn't do anything except knit. I'm not going to show you every little bit and piece that I touched because we'd be looking at 16 different projects. Because I think I have about that many whips right now, and I'm pretty sure I'd say at least half of them got some knitting time. And just whatever I felt like when I woke up that day, that's what whatever I felt like working on that day when I woke up, that's what I picked up to work on. I have continued with lots of Zoom meetings, and one thing that came in very handy that I was able to finish is my Rewilding shawl. So this is Rewilding by Helen Stewart. It is a garter stitch shawl. You can see the texture there, all garter stitch except for this one little panel that has a lace, a little section, and it's actually a stockinette panel. I used nearly all. I haven't weighed my little bit of extra, but it's not much. I maybe could have eked out one more row, but I'm sure I could have eked out 1 or 2 rows. But I didn't want to risk it, and I didn't want to have to frog back anything. And so I just have this little bitty butterfly of leftover yarn, which feels like just fine, right? Just fine. So I have finished the shawl. I have the tassels that I made sometime last year out of the hand spun. This hand spun is spun by Mickey. Her company business is called Thing for String, and she dyes beautiful hand-dyed yarn, and she also sells her hand spun. And this, I wish you could see how beautifully, just how beautiful this hand spun is. It's gorgeous. I have purchased probably I want to say at least 4, if not 5 skeins over time of her hand spun, and I love it so much. It's just gorgeous. So this project is done. I want to say that this skein started off as about 500 yards, and it's so it's a little heavier than one skein, and it's like a perfect little sized shawl that's not so big. It just feels like a really good size. I like that it kind of hangs like this. So yeah. So this is Rewilding. I might wear this. I think I might. It's kind of feels good. Rewilding by Helen Stewart of Curious Handmaids. And that was a project I started a couple of years ago, and it is done. So that is, no, I started it last year, not 2 years ago. I started it in 2019 and finished in 2020. So that's really great. I have not finished anything else. I have not finished anything else. I do want to show you, because I think I didn't show it last time, and I have done some work. I have been working on my Don't Panic shawl, and this is a pattern by Nim Teasdale. The yarn that I am using is fiber optic yarn, gradient yarn. The colorway is called Cameo. I'm now used all of the pinky peaches, and I'm into this like orangey, getting towards caramel pink, and then working my way towards the brown. And I just love it. I'm using 2 gradients and just alternating skeins as I knit, so that it's going to make a giant gradient for this shawl. Yeah, I think since the last time I recorded, I have maybe gone from somewhere in here to there, and a lot of that was knit yesterday. I just took a day off of work yesterday and knit and watched Netflix and knit, and it was so great. Yeah. So this is Don't Panic by Nim Teasdale. I am doing the beading, and I am doing different beads that change color as the shawl goes on. All of the notes for this are in my project pages, with yarn, with the colors of the beads that I'm using, and yeah, so if you're interested in those details, all of that is there. I don't know. I don't know that I worked on this very much at all. Maybe have done a couple of rows, if that. My Fanta Stitch. Gosh, I almost am ashamed. I sold kits for this. When I am knitting on it, I really enjoy knitting on it, but it just hasn't been the thing that I've picked up. But I love the colors. I love the way they're kind of interacting with each other. This is Fanta Stitch by Stephen West. I am using his method of weaving in the ends as you go, which is a video that he put out on YouTube, I'm sure, but I feel like I maybe even saw part of it or something on Instagram. And it is, I mean, like all of these ends, the starting and the ending ends are already like woven in, you know, several 7/8 stitches, which is great because then once I wash this thing, all I have to do is trim those. I like to trim the ends after I block so that I can get it's good and stretched out. If it needs to pull and loosen up a little bit, it has room to do that. And then once it's blocked, then I go back and trim the ends. Yeah, so this is Fantastitch, Stephen West. I'm using all Suburban Stitcher yarn in the sock base and the Surrey alpaca base. I've been trying for a month or so to get more of the Surrey alpaca from our being at least one of the one or two main yarn suppliers that indie dyers use, and they are out of Surrey alpaca. It got so popular so quickly and was being used in so many designs that I think we overwhelmed the supply chain. So good on us. Also, the pandemic probably had something to do with that too, not just us, but needless to say, I can't get any of the yarn right now. They are anticipating mid to late July before it comes back in stock, so it'll be at least August before I can get some more in the shop. I have some colors in stock, but if you see Surrey alpaca out there in the world and want some or need some anytime soon, what is there is what we can get, at least for 4 to 6 weeks, I would imagine. So, PSA on Surrey alpaca. Okay, so let's move on with, I have one more project that I would like to show you. I started this a couple of weeks ago, I think now. It is called The Rebel in Me, and it is by Mara Lacole. And I believe that her Instagram is Mara Lacole Knits. Almost positive. But this is the shawl. It is a crescent-shaped shawl with some like garter ridge detailing and eyelets kind of at the main body of the shawl. And then there's a little bitty stripe. I would say that's probably 12 to 16 rows of brioche. 2-color brioche, and then some more garter, and then this really pretty accent color with a picot bind off. I am using Suburban Stitcher yarn. I have done the top portion. Oh, and this is a DK weight, which is one reason I chose it, because I wanted something that would move along a little bit quicker. I wanted to start a new shawl because I had finished this one, but I needed something that sort of replaced the knittability like this one when I am in Zoom meetings or something like that. Like I needed it to be, at least for most of it, relatively mindless. Like once the pattern was established, I knew what was happening. And so at least so far, my ring just fell off the table. At least so far, this is exactly what that is. You can see the little ridge details, the eyelets. I'm really happy with how this is turning out. This is Suburban Stitcher Merino DK in the Ashes colorway. The reason I chose this color was, one, it's a great gray, and her sample was gray, and so that inspired me. But I also had these 2 skeins of yarn that I sent to a sample knitter last year for a big sweater project, and I sent her 6 skeins. She wound all 6 up, but she only ended up using 4. And so she had re-skeined these, and I didn't feel comfortable selling them, even though they were still, all of the yarn was there. She had not used any of it, but they weren't new and crisp and fresh. And so I just felt like I didn't want to sell them, right? That just didn't seem right. So I saved them just kind of as a, one day I'll need a gray for something and I'll have 2 skeins. And this called for 2 skeins of that main color. And I just thought, okay, there is my Ashes sample. So, or my my sample that I can use the ashes yarn with. I am planning to use Oslo for the brioche section, which I think really, Oslo has little bitty blips of gray and like that gold and brown speckles. And so I'm pulling out some of that gray tone here, but it's definitely enough of a contrast to where the brioche is going to stand out. So I'm really excited about the brioche section. And then I have not quite solidified the accent color at the bottom. I think I will just knit, and when I get there, I will decide. I have a color called Chicory, which is basically the color that I use for the speckles in this yarn is the same color that I use as a bath, like a dye full immersion, to get the chicory color. And so then all three would kind of have the same colors. But I also feel like that's really giving up an opportunity for a fun color pop. Like, not that a mustardy caramel color wouldn't be beautiful, but a fun color really would be fun too. So I haven't decided. But this has been great for, like I said, for Zooms and virtual knit groups that I've been doing, because I haven't gone to any real life knitting groups yet. We are still meeting via Zoom. I'm actually have that this morning at 10 with my local knit group, so that's exciting. Yeah, so this is The Rebel in Me by Mara LaCole Knits. If you are not familiar with her patterns, she is a beautiful, beautiful designer. I am always drawn to her just very romantic, ethereal aesthetic. Everything is roses and beautiful pinks and golds and purples and light, light, light colors, which is just totally my jam. So I am, I love her aesthetic, and that was the perfect solution for the kind of knitting that I was wanting. And so that's really all of my knitting that I am going to talk about and show you. I did get a sample back from a friend who knit this as a sample for me to have at DFW Fiber Fest. And then of course that didn't happen. And so she was just holding on to the sample, and I thought, you know, can I get that so I can show it on the podcast? And of course she sent it to me. So this is I just forgot the name. Oh, shoot. It is by Christina, who is the Dyer of Chelsey yarns. It is a cowl with a coordinating hat that she designed for her yarn right before Vogue Knitting Live. And this uses the slub yarn and mohair. Both yarns are held doubled. And this is the cowl. And we just didn't have quite enough yarn to knit the hat. So we just have the cowl here. But it's a beautiful, just absolutely gorgeous cowl. So soft and squishy. The colorway is River's Edge. And this is, I believe it's a free pattern, but I could be wrong. I'm not sure. River's Edge, I believe I have this in stock. I have it on slub and mohair, yes. So if you like this, you just need one skein of each. And depending on your gauge and how you're knitting, you could get a hat and a cowl maybe out of both skeins. So I want to thank my friend Sally for knitting this for me. I feel like this is Midtown. Is it Midtown Cowl? I don't know. Gosh, I can't believe I forgot the name of it. I will have put it in here somewhere by now. But so that is something to show off. I have a project that I caked up yarn for Also my Oslo colorway. Also a couple of skeins. This is leftover from my, you can't see it, but my pink velvet sweater. This is antique on the Surrey alpaca. This is the leftovers from that color work in that sweater. And then this was a skein that I accidentally cut as I was doing something with it. It's a skein of Oslo on sport weight. And so I was thinking about making the Minted hat by Andrea Mowry. I caked this up and thought I might do it when she had her knit along, like the 4-day hat knit along, but I didn't start it. I didn't get to it. I think that might have been the weekend we were painting. I'm not sure. I can't remember, but so it is all caked up and staring at me for whenever I decide that I need a quick hat project. I always love seeing how colors change when you use a solid and a speckled held together. And so I think that will be a great thing to have. And especially since I'm using Oslo in my other shawl, it'll be like not a set, but just coordinating things. So that's always exciting. I, of course, have other projects on the needles and things that I'm working on. I have some yarn that I have just barely started, a test knit for Tyne Swedish of The Cleverest Stitch, and I cannot show that. I put a picture of the yarn on Instagram, but I can't show the test knit yet, so I will show that to you when we are able. So that has been super fun to work on. And it's a pattern that I think you all will like a lot. Yeah, so shop news. There's lots of slub and mohair that can be paired up for something like this. Something like the Susan Joy shawl, if you want 2 skeins of mohair, 2 skeins of slub, lots and lots and lots of slub in the shop, and I'm happy to help you come up with options. I have been working on shawl sets. You can see just a few left there right now. And then I'm working on some new colorways, color sets, and just pairing things up. I'm focusing on my single ply yarn right now because that's my favorite for shawls. But this is single ply fingering weight, and so like here's a set that I probably will photo and put in the shop. This is Curry, Evangeline, and Smoke. Here's a set that I thought looked really nice together that I'll put together. This is Demure, Jane, and Ashes. Here's one that I really like. It is Sea Smoke, Smoke, and Hurricane. Any of these would be great options for the upcoming Helen Stewart Curious Handmaids Mystery Knit Along, Mystery Shawl Knit Along. I believe that the first clue comes out around the 26th of June. I might be wrong on the date, but I'm almost positive it's at the end of June for sure. I have been putting together these shawl kits with that project in mind, with the test knit that I have in mind, which is also 3 colors, and just other things like they would be great for a Suburban wrap or an infinite number of 3-color shawls or 3-color projects. So like I said, I'm concentrating on single ply fingering weight right now because I just had shawl trios in mind when I was doing this project. But they certainly could be used for sweaters or for anything else. Other shop news, I am sold out of my Advent calendars that are the Suburban Fade, which is the one that will be Diane colors. That's all I know. I haven't started dyeing it yet, so that's all I know. And then I have a very, very, very small number, and I've just left these in the shop, right, for a while. Since April, they've been there, and you know, people buy them here and there, but I do want to officially announce there are very few left of the neutral fade. Neutral is going to be grays, blacks, browns, probably navy blue. I feel very confident in saying that there's navy blue in there. Probably some golds, like maybe some of this color. I feel like that's a neutral, like a goldish caramel color, because that's kind of in the brown family. Maybe some olive. Maybe. I don't know. But neutrals. And it's a fade. 25 mini skeins that all fade from one to the next. All neutrals. So if you are disappointed that you couldn't get a Suburban fade, but you like the idea of this neutral fade, just think it's 25 colors that will go with everything, right? This will be the shawl that goes with everything. You can also pick a pattern, and there are many out there where, and I know I can think of specifically at least 2 or 3 by Amba O'Brien, her Advent series, or some of her other non-Advent shawls, but that would work for this application, is they have like a dividing color, like an accent color. So you could pick your favorite color from your stash, and almost any color would go with neutrals. And then you could have like dividing or separating colors. I think that would be gorgeous. So yeah, so just something to think about if you want a Suburban Stitcher Advent and you missed out on the Suburban fade. There are still some neutral fades, and there are so many ways for you to bring out your color personality even in a neutral fade. So don't be discouraged that you missed out on the color one, because neutrals are beautiful and versatile, and you can still put your personality in there. Yeah, so Houston Fiber Fest has been canceled, the in-person festival, but I was a vendor there, and so that means that is next weekend, and they have done a pretty good job of highlighting and, you know, trying to really get people to still look at the vendors that were supposed to be at that festival. It was going to be my first time vending there as a yarn dyer, and so I'm very disappointed that it's not happening. But I agree with the decision 1,000%. So I am working on, I'm hoping, crossing my fingers that I can get a Houston color dyed up. I really hope I can get it done. I have been swamped with a couple of wholesale orders that keep growing and growing and growing and growing, and I've sort of had to contact both of these people and say, okay, wait, let me catch up. So there is yarn to be had out in the world, out at some of your favorite LYSs, Suburban Stitcher yarn. And so I've been working on that, and I hope I'm just going to make it happen. I'm going to squeeze in a Houston color, because I would have done that for Houston, and I still want to do it now. And I think it's about time for a new colorway. I think we need something fun and exciting to look forward to. I think that's everything that I have to share. Thank you all so much for your constant support of my business and of this channel, watching videos. I look forward to podcasting and knitting and chatting with you again. Bye.